Hart were just inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. These sisters helped lead the charge for women in rock, but we'll talk about that, paving the way for others to follow. The road wasn't always smooth, and some of their conflicts and behind-the-scenes dramas have been well chronicled, including their own autobiography, Kicking and Dreaming, a story of heart, soul, and rock and roll. They also have released a career-spanning box set titled Strange Euphoria, and they recently released a studio album, their 14th, titled Fanatic. Let's take a look at Ann and Nancy doing what they do on one of their signature songs, Magic Man. So for starters, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a big deal. Hall of Fame?
Yeah. Yeah.
Does it feel like a big deal?
It does feel like a big deal.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's kind of a life's work. You know,
Yeah.
you have a whole bunch of decades that you do this one thing for a long, long time, and then suddenly here's your crown, you know,
Yeah.
and here's an award for it. And I was like, okay, I'll take it. I mean,
I think it'll take a
a
while
lot
to
of-
sink in for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
You know.
It just takes a while, yeah.
Yeah.
I was saying to you all when you came on the set, the two of you, that I think this box set, first of all, it's beautifully done.
thank
The
you.
packaging, the designs, whoever did this at the record company did a great job putting it together. The good news about a box set is that you have a corpus of work that is worthy of a box set. The flip side of having a box set is that you've been around a while and you had a lot of hits. When you see this, it says what to you, Ann?
Oh wow, that's like the heft of our body of work.
Yeah.
That's and there are things on there that we put on there, comedy bits, kind of like outtakes from the studio that you wouldn't ordinarily hear on a box set. It's more than music.
Yeah.
It's everything. It's what we think is special and unusual.
Yeah.
Collectible.
Yeah. What's it say to you, Nancy, when you have a box set out?
Well, it's interesting because when we did this box set, we were also working on the new album, Fanatic, which you're holding in your hand.
Your other hand.
And so at the same time, it was lovely to have something new coming forward and not just the retrospective of something behind.
Yeah.
But I love this box set too because it covers all of the various characters that we've played in many ways, like throughout the span of our story, you know. And some of them are kind of strange, and you know, like Strange Euphoria is a funny title to us. And I think it's the best thing about the box set for me is that it shows the sort of the multi-character of us. We're not just the serious rockers, you know, or the romantic rockers, or the kickers, you know. we're also the comedians and kind of the soul singers and the various people who we are.
Yeah. When I said in the introduction that the two of you, as Hart, have paved the way for other women in rock, I said we'll talk about that. What I meant by that, as I tried to pull back from that comment, was that I know that you take great pride in that. On the one hand, on the other hand, that can also be like a sort of noose around your neck.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me about the latter part. The first part I get, but tell me about why you feel that way.
Well, you know, Gloria Steinem says there shouldn't even have to be the word feminist. I mean, we shouldn't need a word to identify the fact that women are treated as equals. And so, in our case, it's for us to have to really go to work at trying to make it be okay for women to be in rock. We shouldn't have had to do all that work, you know, but we did. And it's awesome, you know, because we bear the scars of going like, oh yes, we will.
Yeah.
And And hopefully, you know, that "Oh Yes We will reverberate for others, you know. Some of the mistakes we made
Yeah.
will be remembered and learned from.
When you say mistakes, you've written a book about this, so tell me, you know, just one or two examples of what you regard as a career mistake.
Oh, I regard a career mistake as doing something contrary to what you know is right for you, is you, but doing something anyway because you know it'll advance your career.
Or feeling pressured, or succumbing to,
Yeah,
outside
coming down to the
pressure.
crossroads, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, the crossroads.
Making
exactly.
that Robert Johnson decision where maybe it's not the right thing, you know.
Everybody in his or her career gets pressure. You can't be in the music business and not feel the pressure to do something that you don't want to do at some point in
Yeah.
your career. Every artist experiences that. I wonder, though, for women in rock, does that happen more often?
Boy, it sure did for us.
Right.
It happened, yeah, in the 80s in particular.
Yeah.
When MTV brought, you know, the sort of the global attention towards a little bit away from the music and more towards the image. And it mattered more than music for a while there.
The imagery.
The imaging of music was more important than the music itself for a while. And that was a tough part for us to play, too, because, you know, when we make those videos, those big, you know, blown, high-powered, high-finance videos, then you'd go out and play a huge stadium tour, and you'd be expected to put that show on the same as the video, you know, and wear that much, have that hair and those corsets and those high heels and the smoke and, you know, all of the explosions and the the overblown, overproduced sort of layer cake of it all. And it was really tough for us because we were hippies first, you know. We were really more naturalists. And so all of the artifice of
That really was a production then.
well,
Yeah.
yeah,
the
it's
production, yeah.
not the most natural way to be, you know, so.
Yeah, and it's like one thing. You're in showbiz, so
Right.
it follows that you're gonna try and create mythology about yourself, but then to go out and try and embody it
Right,
in
exactly.
life,
Yeah.
that's where it gets tricky.
Yeah.
I was fascinated reading the book. We'll come back to 2012. 2012 was a big year for you. I mean, the box set came out in 2012.
Yeah.
Record drops in 2012. The book drops in 2012. We'll come back to why all this happened in 2012. But back to the text, though. The book was fascinating reading the passage about you being, you know, kids then and watching the Beatles.
Oh yeah.
And I love the way you told the story. All of your girlfriends were screaming and yelling and passing out as girls did when they saw the Beatles, because they were turned on by the Beatles and wanted to hang out with these guys. And the two of you were, you know, at times annoyed by all the screaming and the yelling. You wanted to hear the music.
Yeah, would you shut up so we can hear what they're playing? You know, I mean,
I was trying to be nice, Ann, and you just went there. Would you shut up so we can... But when you guys saw the Beatles, it's like you knew then that you wanted to do this.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. Something about that particular music just reached in and just lit us both up in this way that was so much more than just wanting to be their girlfriends. It was like too big for that. It was,
We wanted to be
I
them.
want to do that. You
We
know?
wanted to be the Beatles more than
Not
be
with them, but be
girlfriends.
them.
Be them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and come through the same door as humans. I mean, being young kids at the time, when we saw them on Ed Sullivan's show, and it was like the lunar landing. You know, it was a culture shift. It was a shapeshifter for the rest of time for us. And you know, we had to have guitars, and it was before we had our sexual identity sort of put together either. So we had no concept that girls weren't really necessarily expected to not do it, you know. And our mom being really strong and kind of a self-made, you know, pioneer type woman was all for it. So we were like, okay, there's nothing wrong with this. We kind of came, you know, about 30 or so, 20, 30 years later, we come to find, you know, that it's really unusual what we were trying to do.
But your mom encouraged this
Oh
early
yeah.
on.
Oh yeah.
How important was
both
that?
of them.
Yeah, how important was it
Yeah.
that both of your parents encouraged this?
They saw other kids who were drifting and had no direction, and they saw this thing that really illuminated us and made us really happy, and they wanted us to be happy and to have a direction. That's my opinion now, as a parent now.
And one of
that
the-
they saw we were excited about some things.
Yeah.
Go for it, you know.
Yeah, better than being a drifter.
Yeah.
And also, at that time, it was like late 60s, early 70s, you know. Human potential movement is what they called it at the time. It was a lot of self-realization going on, and I'm okay, you're okay, and self-help books and stuff like that. And, you know, church camps were really like more about that than organized religion. And so we had a really great community and a great support system with them. And one of their catchphrases was "Follow your bliss," and that was definitely our bliss, and remains to be.
Yeah. Since you mentioned the church, I can't resist one of the funny stories.
Yeah,
I'm laughing already because they know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're going to say.
All right, Ed, I'm not going to ask the question. Tell the story.
Oh, well, I think what you're referring to is one of the first times that Nancy and I ever played live in front of people was at our parents' church. It was a First Congregational Church.
That's right.
It was a pretty liberal church for the 60s, you know?
Yeah.
Well, about half of it was more
Yeah.
liberal.
And so it was on a youth Sunday, and so we were up there in front of the church playing, and one of the songs we chose to play was the Doors song, When the Music's Over, which includes the lines, cancel my subscription to the resurrection. and
At a First Congregational Church.
yeah, and so, yeah. And so, and we didn't see anything wrong with it because we just thought it was mind expanded, you know. It was, okay. People will
deep
dig
thinking.
this, man. And so some people started to sort of get restless, and some people started to get up and sort of file out, and some people sat there and were like, yeah. So by the end of it, one half had left and one half had stayed.
Half of the congregation was out of there.
I just thought that was so funny. You were in front of a church, a First Congregational Church, and you were singing, cancel my subscription to the,
Yeah.
to the
There's a
resurrection.
Yeah,
resurrection.
but when you think of it, in the 1960s, at a pretty wide open Protestant church, that was the perfect place to say something like that, to be wild, to be
Yeah.
revolutionary.
Right, revolutionary. And to
That's how
have-
we were seeing it.
To have contrarian sort of concepts, you know.
And yeah, we got the reaction we wanted. We stirred it up.
Yeah.
So
It was never the same since.
I'm just trying to figure out to what extent your being contrarian was a part of the not just the process, but a part, again, I guess plan's the best word I can come up with.
yeah, well
Or did it just happen?
we were
That's
raised
an
that
amazing
way.
question.
We were raised that way.
Yeah.
And to always question.
Right.
And to never
Yeah.
just accept, you know, and go along with the plan.
The herd.
And so where being contrarian probably wasn't mandated, it was in our DNA. And
Right.
we've always been that way. People can just say one little wrong word and we're like all up in arms. We're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? You're trying to put us in that box?
Yeah.
You know, it's just almost like a go-to knee-jerk place for us.
And there's also a thing that happens in rock, you know, in music. I think entertainers in general probably might have this too, but I think in rock, maybe in particular, there is a spirit that is fueled by the music itself. Like when you play big, loud, amplified, larger than life in front of all these thousands of people, and it's muscular, and people, you know, like it. They want it, and they want more. It sort of feeds a part of you that not necessarily is always a good thing. You know, you can get your head really blown out of proportion. Your ego can go out of control if you believe your hype, you know.
Yeah.
But I think it's, you know, it's like they expect it, don't they, in rock and roll, you know, for you to be kind of a bad boy, you know.
Egomaniacal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, they
we've never done that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
never happened.
I'm glad you said that, though, because it does raise a question that I want to ask about how you, to the extent that you have, how you avoided the the egomaniacal part, how you avoided the drugs, how you avoided
Yeah.
the meltdowns. And again, every career has its ebbs and flows, but
Yeah.
you seem to have survived rather well adjusted. 'Cause
Yeah,
in
yeah.
rock, you know, anything you
Rather,
want is available.
Well, you know, the whole egomaniacal thing in rock is so self-defeating. And it's, at this point, it's Spinal Tap-ish. You know,
Right. Yeah.
it's, rock is human beings, you know, playing music from their most lively, vital core. And the whole, you know, ego trip and drugs and all that, those are trappings that are kind of stereotype at this point, I think. I think too, I'm speaking from my age, at my generation, you know. When I was 27, I didn't think this at all. I thought, like, bring it on, you know, I'm something, you know. I think people confuse personal power with ego all the time. You know, it's all mixed up together.
Yeah. If the Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, had not come calling, if this selection, this honor had not occurred, would you, did you, have you felt respected by the profession? Have you felt like you have been given the respect that you deserved, or does that happen now with this induction? Or did it never matter to you?
Well, no, it matters.
Yeah, it does matter.
Honestly, it does matter. Yeah.
We've talked ourselves into thinking that it didn't matter when it didn't look like it might be able to happen. So in that way, you're like, you know, we've never fit the profile, you know. And there haven't been a whole lot of women previously inducted to begin with. And so, you know, we were cautiously optimistic. Our fans, however, were like the angry mob with torches coming down into the village, you know. They were ready to, I don't know, do what? You know, go to New York, you know, with their, the angry mob act. But, so I would have cared more, in a way, that the fans would get their justice, because they cared super intensely about us getting it.
How would you describe, maybe describe is the wrong word, but just say a word to me about your fan base, because here you are again doing something that hasn't really been done in the way that the two of you sisters were doing it. And yet you developed a huge fan base, a huge fan that you still have to this day. To Nancy's point, they fought to get you guys in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame where you deserve to be. But just talk to me about that fan base that you have established for decades now.
Well, they are, you know, everyone says this about their fan base, but I've got to say that Heart fans are the most,
True.
yeah, they're deep and loyal, and they will come to Europe. They will go to Canada. They will, and I don't know how they afford it, you know, but they will show up in the front row, you know, just no matter where we are, and they will also make their displeasure known. Like last year, we opened up for Def Leppard on a tour. It was great, you know. We were out there, we went to Australia and all this, but there were no Heart fans anywhere.
They
because
boycotted
because we were not
Oh, I got
having
it.
Heart
closing
shows.
the show,
I
and so
got
they sent us a message
Right, yeah.
that we will not come unless you are.
Unless you have the open and the close. Yeah.
So they're amazing, amazing people,
Yeah.
and they,
Yeah.
you know, our music is sentimental at times, and it's powerful at times. It's really honest, and it's nostalgic at times. They're people that can encompass all those kinds of emotions, and they read the lyrics, they like the poetry, you know.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
You said something a moment ago that just kind of took me back right quick. Prince has been a guest on this program a number of times over the years, and I love him. He's my brother and my friend. And I had never seen him perform outside of the country.
Right.
Until a couple of years ago, he played. He's actually playing again this year. He's playing Montreux, the Montreux Jazz Festival this
He
summer.
is just a beast.
But he played Montreux a few years ago, and I went with him to Montreux.
How fun.
And I was just hanging out during the day, you know, and it was really funny because he'd been a guest on the program a number of times. I was getting mobbed by people on the street because they had seen him on my program over the course of years. It was really funny. I'm like, why are people walking up to me? And it finally occurred to me that they had seen him on the program so many times, which is really not the point of the story. The point is that I was blown away because I'm an interviewer. I would sit and talk to these folk at the cafe or walking down the street. I'd engage them in conversation when they walked up to me. I'm like, how many times have you seen Prince? 70,
Yeah.
72,
Yeah.
55. Where have you seen him at? They started naming cities around the world, to your point about your fans who travel.
Yeah, right.
And I asked Prince one night, are you aware of this? He said, oh, yeah. He says, after a while, you spot some of them in the audience.
You get
because
to
you
know
see
them.
them so many, you get to know them.
Yeah.
Same
Oh,
thing
yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
You know
God,
some of
yeah.
these fans because they've come to so many shows over the years.
Yeah, and there's for instance, there's one woman
Yeah.
Paula.
who has had really severe health problems in her life over the last few years, and we came to know about it, and then we saw her so many times, and then we'd see her looking sicker and sicker, and then we'd see her gone for a while, and then we'd see her back, and she'd look a little better, you know, and just like that. I mean, you get really familiar with these
Wow.
people.
That's amazing.
And so then you start to treat them right, you know.
Yeah.
You want them right down there in front,
Yeah, sure.
because if you know they understand.
And the energy's always right.
Yes.
I got that from watching him, watching Prince. If you
Yeah.
know your diehard fans are down front, that's why you go to any Prince concert, the front part is always roped off for the diehards.
Yeah.
Because he knows if
That's
nothing,
right.
you
That's
may
how
sit,
it
you may
should
sit, you
be.
may sit on your behind up in the balcony.
That's
But
right.
down front, the energy that the
right.
artist needs is going
Yeah.
to be there.
Yeah.
And the same thing happens for you guys, obviously.
Yeah.
They have
Yeah,
a
yeah,
big
yeah.
warm smile, and they're really happy. Like, they're happy to hear the same songs
Yeah.
on and on, you know.
Yeah.
Or new ones, you know.
Yeah.
They're the best.
And speaking of new ones, is it fun or is it difficult or is it both to put new stuff out after all these years?
Oh, it's really a lot of work.
Yeah.
To do a whole long player like that.
Right.
And it's really fun, deeply satisfying, the most satisfying. But I tell you, it's just to avoid repeating ourselves, to make sure that we're relevant as a band to ourselves, and we're trying to cut new ground all the time. That's why it's work, you know. It's really important to not just go out there and pull people's leg.
Well, you guys have been giving them what they want for a lot of years now, and they're still doing it. Congratulations to Ann and to Nancy, the sisters who make up Heart, for their induction this week into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. For those of you who love their music, as so many of us do, the box set available now is called Strange Euphoria. You'll want to get that. Beautifully packaged, as I said earlier. And the latest project is called Fanatic, and you will want to get that as well. Congratulations again.
Thank you so much
I'm
for having us.
delighted in this conversation. Thanks for coming by to see us.
That's a fun.
We
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
very much.
Glad to have you. That's our show for tonight. Thanks for watching.
Hey, come on
Until
the road
next.
with us, too.
Oh, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Believe me. She said, come on the road with us. Yeah, let me know when.
Okay.
My bags are packed. If you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. I'm ready to go. That's our show for
Okay.
tonight. Until next time, keep the faith.
For more information on today's show, visit Tavis Smiley at pbs.org.